But I want to bring back in civil rights and trial attorney Adanté Pointer, because here's the other thing, Adanté. I mean, I could really barely contain myself as we're listening to the first part in that deposition where Alex Murdaugh says, oh, she was sitting on the steps and Gloria Satterfield is the one who indicated the dogs caused her to fall. And I know my wife said she was unconscious. I'm like, Michael, it's like, listen, if this man breathes, he lies. It's lie after lie after lie after lie. It's really hard for me to hear. What does that mean for him and in terms of, you know, the Gloria Satterfield and the insurance money and everything else?
Well, I think, you know, what you're seeing here is he's given a bad name for attorneys and lawyers. You know, it's one of these things here where he knew what to say and what not to say and how to frame this in a way to ensure a quick payoff. The dastardly deed on top of that, of kind of concocting this story, is that it wasn't to get a quick payoff to the benefit of his housekeeper's child who's now going to grow up without a mother. This was just to line his pockets. And so, you know, this is just outright greed that he was involved in. I imagine what he's thinking about now as he's contemplating further charges coming out of his past conduct and his role in her death and then defrauding the money from his clients. He's trying to minimize that. But I think his previous words, his stories, his lies, and frankly, the conviction that he's already facing will be those chickens coming home to roost.
And I think that's the worst part, is the motive. You're right. It wasn't to get the money to her sons, one of whom had needs, medical needs, but rather to line his own pocket, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, no doubt. And let me just point something out. In the insurance paperwork, they found out Satterfield, who was like a mother, right? We heard testimony. She was like a mother to their kids. She had worked for them for 20 years, Adanté. She still made $10 an hour, was never made a full-time employee, and worked at will. I mean, what does that tell you about the type of people that we're dealing with here?
I think it tells you a lot. And that story could be pretty much summed up with, this is someone who did not care about anyone else other than himself. Completely self-absorbed, had no real interest in developing people other than the fact of using them for his benefit and for his gain, be it his employees or his independent contractors, this housekeeper, or his partners that he was in business with as lawyers, or the clients that he was duty-bound to protect. His greed knew no bounds, and now has landed him with a stiff prison sentence.
Yeah. And, you know, the reality of it's a rural community, not necessarily a lot of wealth, and so just took advantage of vulnerable people who needed the work and wanted to work and would work hard. And so they could say, well, that's what I get paid. That's where I'm going to go work. What do you think really happened, Adanté? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I do have to wonder, what happened? Was it the dogs? Was it Paul? How did she fall down those stairs? And will we ever know?
I don't know if we'll ever know the truth, because in order for there to be the truth, someone would have to be willing to say it. And this is a man who was very calculated in terms of how these things kind of took place. There's always going to be the air of suspicion, and from my standpoint, as to what his personal hand was in causing this death. Was this the dogs? Was this a slip and fall? Or was this something that was premeditated in a way to cause her demise so that he could make a play on this insurance money? He seems pretty comfortable in those tapes talking about how this took place when we know otherwise now, because we have the benefit of hindsight in terms of all the misdeeds, all of the shenanigans, all of the trickery, all of the fraud and lies that he engaged in.
Yeah, no doubt. The insurance company was initially looking at it as maybe one of her medical conditions caused her to fall. She had a number of medical conditions, so that could have caused the fall. Yeah. And also, I have to wonder if what happened there had something to do with them being murdered.
Yeah, I wonder that too. I've always thought that. All right, thank you so much, Adanté Pointer, for being with us today and all of your great expertise. And while I'm sad to leave you, I'm glad to hear you're going to still be at the anchor desk. What's coming up on your show?
Yeah, no doubt. Parting is always such sweet sorrow.